Hello, this is old Mr. Kent of MrKent.com, and I'm 82 years old. I've been telling my life story on these videos as I ride around on my E-Trike, and here comes a car. Anyway, so if you're wanting to get caught up, there's a link at the end of the video. It says life story. Click on that, and it'll take you through a playlist. All right, so that's that. Now, kind of hazy out this morning, and I think the humidity is 28%. That's a lot of humidity for Arizona. It's supposed to have some storms coming up in the next couple of days, so we'll see how that goes. Definitely not going to go ride my trike and make videos when it's raining. So anyway, in the last video, when I flew my Cessna 150 down to California and bought a Cessna 170, and my brother flew the 150 back, and I flew the 170. We left from Pasco, Washington, and went down to the Citrus Heights area, I guess you could say. Anyway, so then I was going to make today's video was going to be about going down to California to get the plane that my brother saw when we were down there buying mine. And so, but I'm going to have to put that off because, well, maybe not. We'll see. Maybe I can get it in with this video. But I spent yesterday morning. I had to replace the inner tube on the right-hand tire over here. If you remember, when I went through a patch of goat head vines that had goat head stickers on them. Anyway, and my front tire went flat right away. I found 15 goat heads in this back right tire and pulled them out, so I thought I was in good shape. But then eventually that tire went flat because when I took it off and felt around inside the tire, there were two places where goat heads had poked all the way through and ended up flattening my tire. So I had to put a new inner tube on. So I will tell you this so that you'll know that slime does not protect against goat heads, because I had slime in all my tires, plus the slime that came in the tires that electric e-bike sold me. So they put slime in the tires. It's not the same thing, it's a different kind. But anyway, aside from that, slime will not protect against goat heads. So just a warning, don't ride through goat head vines. Okay, so I got that done, and now we got some dogs over here. I think we'll be okay. So, yes, you're a good dog. Yeah, I know. You'd like to get petted. So anyway, so that's the one thing. And then I had forgotten about some other stories that I meant to tell you when I was still flying my 150. And they're interesting to me anyway. I thought, well, I'll share those with you. And then we'll get back to flying the 170, the Cessna 170 and all that. So there's a bump. All right, so when I was taking lessons, the way lessons go is there's a pattern at every airport that I'll put a image up so you can see that you fly. So when you take off, you fly down the runway, and then if you're going to do touch and goes or come back and land, then you make a left-hand turn, go a little ways at the end of that runway, and then a left-hand turn again, head back up to the other end of the runway, and then make a left-hand turn. That's called left base, and then you turn on final. Well, so my instructor, after I had been doing enough flying that I did all the takeoff and landing, that he got to a point, just like all instructors, where he knew I knew how to take off and land. So then he decides to let you solo. So it's my turn to solo. So I came in and landed. I didn't know I was gonna. He just says, all right, pull over and stop. And then he got out. And he said, all right, dude, 3 takeoff and landings. Okay. So now remember, the Cessna 150 is made to carry, for normal weight, is made to carry 2 average sized people. And they call that 170 pounds. So that's how much weight the plane's designed for natural flying ability and all that. So, all the lessons I was taking, coming in and landing and everything, we had 2 people in the plane, so it was maximum weight, for normal flying. And then, so he gets out, and I take off, and I fly the pattern. I go down, I make a left, and come back on what they call downwind, and then I make a left, just like I always been doing, and going, coming in on base, and then I make a left, and I'm gonna descend to the airfield. Problem is, plane's only about half as heavy as normal, and so I pull the throttle back, and then still way, way, way up in the sky because there's no weight in the plane, so it's not dropping very fast. So anyway, there's a thing called a slip, and I'll be talking about that when we fly to pick up my brother's plane. But a slip is where you maneuver the controls so that you lay the plane on its side and nose it down, and you slip sideways through the air, and you can lose a whole lot of altitude really fast in a controlled manner. And so I did that, and I landed okay out. And then on the next one, I cut the throttle a lot sooner and made 3 good landings. And so, so then I had passed my solo, which meant I could go up flying all I wanted, but I just couldn't take anybody as long as I was a student. So, so that's talking about the weight of the airplane. And so I had this friend. Oh, get out of here. Go. I had this friend named Chuck Wallace who had been a pilot of a B-17 in the Second World War. He was an amateur radio operator, and that's how we met. And then so when I finally got my Cessna 150, I asked him if he wanted to go fly my 150, and he said, yeah. And so he knew all what to do and everything. So take off, and we fly around a little bit. And then when it comes into land, normally, like was in my my instructor, you just pull the throttle all the way back and just kind of glide in nice and slow, and touch down. Not Chuck. Man, he kept the throttle going, and he flew it into the ground. It didn't fly it into the ground, but he flew it into the pattern, flew it all the way down to where he was just a couple feet above the ground, and then pulled back on the throttle and let it settle down. And I didn't know why he did that until years later. I don't know if you've noticed, every once in a while one of those old B-17s will crash. And there was one recently within the last year that they took 10 people up for a ride, and they were coming in, and just as they were getting down, they were coming into land, and just as they were getting down to the airstrip, it made a dive down and crashed into a hangar. I don't know if you remember the news on that. Anyway, that reminded me of Chuck's way of flying, because the B-17, you didn't glide in. You came in with a lot of power because it did not glide. It was too big. And that's how he had been trained, and that's what he knew to fly. So he brought my 150 in like that. Well, apparently the guy bringing the B-17 in with the tourist people on it, he didn't understand that, and he got going too slow. And when he got down close to the ground, about 100 feet up, it stalled. In other words, he just quit flying and dove into the ground. And and that I've had that happen with. I took a family up, a man and wife and their teenage son, for a ride, and they were pretty heavy people in my 170, my Cessna 170 years later. And I was coming into land, and when I got about 5 feet off the ground, was a much heavier load than I was used to carrying. I was just kind of gliding in, and about 5 feet off the ground, the stall warning came on, and we just dropped to the ground. So I was fortunate that that didn't happen, higher up in the sky. We would have lost it all. So I throw that in because if you've noticed in the news lately, there was a B-17 that stalled as it was landing, and that's probably because the guy was used to flying small planes. So anyway, I throw that in because it reminded me of one of the things I learned when I was taking my lessons. All right, going to turn around and go up this road again this way. This is my neighborhood. That's why the dogs are barking. So, all right, so I looked all over for a video. I took using the VHS tape recorder, video recorder. I had one. I took videos of our trip to buy the 170, and then when we went to go down to California to pick up my brother's plane, he bought a Piper Cherokee 140, I think it was, and I'll put some pictures in on that. But anyway, I could not find the videos that I took. I probably gave them to him. Now, I backed up all those videos years ago onto DVD, and as I understand, nowadays old VHS tape is going to get real blurry because the magnetism loses its position and those tapes get old. So anyway, so I think I got enough time to tell you how it went. We took off from Pasco, and then the weather, to go down to get his plane, the weather wasn't nearly as good as it was when we went to get mine. And we flew down to Bend, Oregon. I think it was Bend, and there was a weather station there. We were able to go up and talk to the guys in the Weather Bureau, and they told us, they said, between here and where you were going, which was down to California Lincoln Airport, between here and there, there's a weather front, and you'd have to get up to 18,000 feet to go over the clouds, or you can fly out over the ocean, which was a couple 100 miles extra round trip, but we had enough fuel to do that. Fly out over the ocean and bypass that weather front, but you won't be able to go straight down. So we said, okay, we had the plane all fueled up, and we took off, and we started flying, and sure enough, there was the weather front, and we knew if we needed to, we could always turn west and go out over the ocean. So we finally got over the clouds instead of under them, and so technically we were illegal because we didn't have instrument rated airplane, but we still had visibility, and so we're flying along, and then we can see this wall of clouds up, goes up higher than we could fly, just out in front of us, and I just kept flying toward it and flying toward it and flying toward it. And this other plane, we saw another plane. He was IFR rated. He just flew into that cloud and disappeared. So we just wondered, we kept getting closer and closer, and it's a weird thing because I looked down and we had like a tunnel at an angle, and I could see the ground below. We're about 6,000 or 7,000 feet, something like that. The ground below had sun shining on it, and I thought, whoa, we'll just go down through that tunnel. So I did the same thing, put the plane into a slip, and we just fell several thousand feet for a couple of minutes, down through that tunnel. It was like it was just there. And so we got underneath of it, got underneath the heavy cloud that we were supposed to go through, or we wanted to go through. And when we got on the ground, we flew south for about 10 miles, and the weather front was behind us, so we got back up to normal height and landed at Lincoln Airstrip. And so, and while we were there, we visited with my uncle Wendell, and my brother. He took, went up and with the owner and got instructed on flying it. Actually, he knew about that plane because he had taken his lessons in it years earlier on a Piper Cherokee. So anyway, so he got got it all figured out, and we ready to go, and we turned around, and oh, by the way, we took my little boy, who's now the son that I'm living with. We took him. He rode in the back seat of my plane, and then when we departed to go south, down from, or go north from California to Pasco, Washington, my son wanted to ride with him, and so the two of them were in the Cherokee, and like I had videos of that and everything, but I think I just must have given them to him because I can't find them anywhere. Anyway, at one point we got up to 13,000 feet, which was, I think, 500 feet higher than we were supposed to. But anyway, we were going along, and then I saw these, they're called lenticular clouds. They're kind of like thin and wispy like that, and they were cutting into cumulus clouds. And so you had this situation where there was going to be a lot of turbulence, and that was up at our altitude. So I told my brother, I said, let's drop down to something reasonable. We stopped at Lakeview to refuel, and then kept on going south and landed in Pasco. And so my brother had a plane, I had a plane, and there for many years after that, the two of us had a lot of fun flying together. I got some pictures I'll throw up, or I have been throwing up probably as we go along here. I can't really tell when I'm riding my trike. So anyway, and my brother, he loved flying, and last year he got this. Last time I talked to him on the phone, he lived over in the Yelm area of Washington State. That's on the western side of the mountains, and I lived in the at that point in time. I was already living in Spokane, but anyway, he got a bad cold. Thought it was just a cold, and just a week or two later, he passed away from a COVID disease. So anyway, but he and I had a lot of fun. I could tell you a lot of things about my brother. He was a better man than I am. A couple of times we got in arguments, and he was the first one to make up. One time it lasted 9 years. So anyway, I miss my brother. I'm going to continue to miss him until someday I see him up in heaven. So so that's today's story. It's a little hazy out there, and I hope that the weather stays good so I can keep making these videos. And so I want to thank you for watching this video, and God bless.